Hi everyone, this is Frank DiMora. We just finished a 10-part series on the rapture of the church. And if you just happen to tune in on my website at YouTube, please go to www.DiMoraMinistry.com. This is how you spell DiMora. That would be D-I-M-O-R-A. Just go to my website. You'll see the front and the back cover of the book. And when you see it, right below it, there's a link. It says January download, January 2003. That's the brand new edition of this prophecy documentary that has all the signs, the evidence, and the proof that Jesus Christ is coming back. So, with that, just got through giving you a whole dissertation about the rapture of the church and keeping on the watch so that you're not caught naked and ashamed when the Lord comes to claim his bride, to take us into heaven and hide us into those chambers that he's been preparing for us in his home for 7 years. Now, part of the process of being on the watch is to know what the Lord said in his word. Now, in one of the videos that I gave to you, one of the 10 videos, I talked about the call for peace and safety. I'm going to give this to you again because this is current news, and I'm going to help you keep on the watch. At least I'm going to make an attempt, every attempt, to do what the Lord has called me to do, to share his word and to edify the body by strengthening them in the blessing, the blessed hope of the Lord appearing. And this is what we're waiting for. Now, turning your attention to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1 through 3 and 4. I'm going to read this for you. It says, and this is Paul the apostle writing, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you." Now, I explained to you that Jesus gave this to Paul. He was a Jew. Paul was a Jew. He understood the Jewish traditions and the feasts. He understood the biblical calendar, the Jewish biblical calendar, which is actually God's biblical calendar. And then he goes on to write in verse 2, "For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night." Now, I broke down to you what the thief in the night means. Now, if you haven't seen it already, please go back and watch the videos that are above, and you'll see exactly what is meant by the thief in the night. 4 and verse 3, "For when they shall say, peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Two things here. Number one of the last day signs was that we were supposed to be watching for events where Israel would be calling for peace and safety. That is going on right now, and we see it in the news just about every single day now, that they're trying to go and get a peace agreement between the Arabs and Israel, and it's not working. So he goes on to say, and the second point, before I forget, the second point, notice that he says, "cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Now, in Mark 13:8, Jesus talks about these birth pangs that were coming in the last days. And you tie both of these together because essentially you're seeing the exact same thing again in this verse, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, comparing the woman travail upon, or as travail upon a woman with child. Birth pangs again. This is what he's telling us. So we know for a fact the birth pangs have already started because Israel has been in the midst of the birth pangs, these peace and safety calls, ever since Jimmy Carter, Sadat, and Begin got together and started to formalize the first agreements for a peace initiative between Egypt and Israel. So we know that the birth pangs have started. At least they've been in effect since 1977. So if somebody says to you that there are no birth pangs yet until the tribulation, point to 1 Thessalonians 5:3 where they've already started. And if you don't believe that these birth pangs are among us right now, start looking at the news every single day and you'll see the frustration since 1977 and the wars that have taken place because of the peace process failed. These are the birth pangs. Now in verse 4, but you, brethren, are not in the darkness, that they should overtake you as a thief. You are the children of the light, the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of the darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Jesus told us over and over again to watch. Jesus also wrote in the book of Revelation to the churches about keeping on the watch. Remember the thief in the night? And remember, if you watch the videos, I showed you the guard and the high priest were called the thief in the night. And the priest that fell asleep had his garments burned. These are the messages that Jesus gave to the church. Excuse me, getting a little cold here. Now, in the news today, I'm going to put this up for you so you can take a look, because this is a direct, when you see this news, you'll know that it's about the signs of the times, the very signs of the peace and safety call as God showed Paul. Now, in the news, you're going to read this, and there's a video, so when you go to this, just scroll down, you'll see the video in it. Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, is over in Israel, again, trying to get the Israelis to come together to have a peace agreement with the Arabs. It says, if substantial talks don't begin soon between Israel and the Palestinians, all parties will face profound trouble. The Middle East Quartet Special Representative warned Tuesday. So he's over there. Today is Tuesday. He's in Israel today, warning that there's going to be trouble. Okay, this is what he says. Now, I know what the trouble is going to be. It goes on to say, we are talking about weeks rather than months. For this process now to be rehabilitated and put back on track. Tony Blair told CNN it won't go back and give credibility to this peace process in a meaningful way. We are going to be in genuine and profound trouble. Now, Paul wrote and said, when they're talking peace and safety, what was going to happen? The second part of that verse, sudden destruction would come. Now, we know from Psalm 83, the war that hasn't been fulfilled yet, that there is another war that will be fulfilled, and I believe that the Lord has already shown us that that war will happen when the peace process breaks down, because in Psalm 83 we're shown that the Arab nations that border Israel are going to say, and they've already said it, and if you read my book you're going to see all those quotations from these Arab leaders, and they are saying that if the peace process breaks down, which it already is breaking down, but they said that the war was going to take place. And one of the reasons why a war would take place is because they want their own state for the Palestinian people, and they want to get back East Jerusalem, which is where the first and the second temple were. So the whole, when you look at the charter for the PLO, that was established, you can go and Google the charter, Palestinian charter, and in that charter today it is still effective that they call for the destruction of Israel. Now in Psalm 83 it says that they're going to call for the destruction, complete annihilation of Israel, so that their name isn't in remembrance anymore. And we're seeing the exact same verbiage coming from the Arabs as we see that was told by the Lord in Psalm 83. So when Tony Blair is over there and Tony Blair is saying that there's going to be trouble, all you have to do, if you know the Word of God, is to go back into the Bible, read what it says, and you know what you have to wait for to keep on the watch, because the peace process will break down. Israel is not going to hand over East Jerusalem entirely to the PLO. It won't happen, because that is the most sensitive area to the Jewish nation. And it took almost 2,000 years to recapture Jerusalem, where the Temple Mount is, in East Jerusalem. And this is all part of the failing peace process, where the PLO cannot get their hands on this area to call for their Palestinian capital, and it's not going to happen. So we know that because of the burden that is in Jerusalem, as Zechariah 12:3 tells us, that all the nations of the world will come against Jerusalem, we see what the problem is. So when we hear the news that Tony Blair is over there, we understand why he's over there, but even more so, the wise who know the Word of God, we know what the result is already. And don't think that Israel would get wiped out, because that's not what God has shown us. Israel is not going to lose. As a matter of fact, Israel is going to encompass more land after that battle. More land to the point that they will actually feel that they're living in security. And as a result of that, we know from Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, where it's describing another war that will take place after the Somme War, that war that is led by the Russians, and he brings his Islamic nations against Israel, that war is going to happen when they feel that they're at peace and safety with no bars, walls, or gates. And so we know the war, Psalm 83, has to take place. Then the wall will come down, the gates, the bars, everything that they feel that's supporting their security will come down, and that's when the other attack will happen. So keep your eyes on the news and watch what happens with this peace process, because there is a good possibility. I'm not saying that it will happen, but knowing that the tensions are really rising in the Middle East over this failed peace process, there is the possibility that this peace process will fail this year, maybe months, weeks, who knows? And that war may take place in 2011. We don't know for sure, but the signs are there. The most important thing is you keep on the watch. Keep on the watch, because that's what the Lord wants you to do. If you love Jesus, study His Word and look up for the blessed appearing of Jesus Christ. And He's going to take the bride home. And I pray that you're part of that bride when He comes. God bless.